Hey artists, it is Fibers Week. Fiber arts is one of my very favorites. I am so excited. Fibers are things that have tiny little pieces and they're put together. Usually when you think about fibers, you think about fabric and yarn. There are all different kinds of things that people can make out of fibers, like baskets, clothing, hats, scarves, rugs, all different types of things. Fiber arts can be functional, meaning you can make something that you can use, or it can just be for the art purposes. Fiber arts have been passed down for thousands and thousands of years from generation to generation. Something that I have near and dear to my heart is I have a lot of family members that have made some fiber arts. I bet some of you probably have the same thing. So something that has been made from my family is my mother-in-law, and you guys have actually seen these before, is Mrs. and Mr. Paintbrush and Mr. Pencil, and they are crocheted. So I'm going to hold it up so you can see the pattern. They are crocheted from one piece of yarn, and she used a crochet hook. Something else that she has also crocheted for me is my Yoshi. Again, it is all made from a crochet hook and a piece of yarn. Super cool. My grandma is actually a pretty cool knitter too, and so she has knit, which is a little different than crocheting, but all kinds of things. So I have a scarf, and I have a hat. It is a nice fluffy winter beanie. You can see the different patterns. I also have a sweater. This was not made by my grandmother, but this is store-bought, but I bet some of you have some knit things. So it's got a really cool pattern. I've got all kinds of stuff. Let's see what else I can find. Okay, so I found something else. Check this out, guys. So I found a hat that has been woven, that is woven. See how they go over, under? That's a really cool weaving pattern. So something else that I just found is now with our Corona and the COVID, people are making face masks. So this is actually made out of fabric. It is sewn. It has a pocket. This is actually made by my mother-in-law, again, the same one who made the Yoshi. So this is something that is actually pretty functional that people are making nowadays. Okay, so I found something else. I actually found two things. I have a basket of blankets, and the basket itself is a woven basket, but the blanket that is in my basket was actually hand knit by my grandmother. It's very intricate. It was actually a wedding gift, so it's actually something that's super, super special to me. So some of you might have seen this from some other of my videos. It's a wall hanging weaving. This one was actually store-bought, but this is just like some that I actually make. One last thing I wanted to show you is actually not in my house at all. This is actually in my sister's house in Gainesville, but I want you to look at this little wall hanging. So this wall hanging is actually a weaving that I have also made. I always think that it's important that if I have you guys create art, that you see the art that I've created, and this is one thing that I have gifted to another family member. All right, that was super awesome. I'm gonna show you one more thing though, something about Mrs. House. Something that I always keep next to my chair or my couch is this big old bucket of yarn. I've got all kinds of yarn, and I actually have been working on weaving, which is what we are making this week. Does anybody remember what this is called? It is a loom. Say loom. Loom is what is going to hold our weaving together. I only have half of my loom used right now because I'm just making a small wall hanging. I want you to look closely so you can see all the different patterns of my weaving. I've got all different kinds of stuff going on. But the loom has a couple of different parts. So it has the up and down strings. Those are called warp. Say warp. Then it also has the side to side. That is called weft. Say weft. So we have the loom, the up and down are called warp, and the side to side are called weft. All right, guys, we're gonna make our own weavings today. If you don't have the supplies, I bet you could find some other things to weave with. You could use things like cut up strips of plastic bags or paper bags. You could use cut up cereal boxes. You could use big leaves and twigs and sticks. You could take an old t-shirt that doesn't fit anymore, maybe it's stained, and cut that up. There's all kinds of things that you can use. All right, let's go ahead and get started. To get started, I have a lot of my supplies laid out. Now I have probably way more supplies than what some of you are probably going to use, and that's okay. I just wanted to give you guys some options. Something that you have to have in order to weave is you have to make a loom. And so we're gonna make our loom out of cardboard. I just have a little piece of cardboard. You can use an old cut up cereal box or any kind of cardboard. This is from an Amazon box, I think. You're also gonna need something to make your warp strings with. I'm just using this twine because it's what I've got and I have a lot of it. But if you don't have any kind of shoelace or any kind of string, ribbon, anything like that, something that I thought would work really well is if you have any kind of plant that you can find that's long and skinny. They're all kind of the same size. I actually kind of love this idea, and I might end up making my own kind of weaving with that anyway because I thought it was a really cool idea. All right, you are gonna need a pair of scissors. You can do this without tape, but I'm going to use tape and then something to write with. So first you're going to need to make your loom, and we're going to do what's called warp the loom. That means to put the warp strings on. I'm going to measure out so they're all about the same width apart, and I'm going to measure using something super fancy called my finger, and I'm going to put my finger against the edge and make a little mark. Put my finger next to the notch, make another little mark, and go all the way down until I've gotten to the other side. Then I want to make the same marks on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of paper and I am going to line up the edge, and I'm going to just kind of repeat the marks in the same spot. And then I'm going to let it float on up this way and make the same marks down here. That way the marks are the same spot on both ends. I'm ready to cut. So when I cut, I'm going to go ahead and just make a little notch. I don't want to go super far. I probably went in, I don't know, maybe not even a quarter of an inch. And I'm just gonna go make the same cuts all the way down. I don't want them to be different. I want them to be all about the same. All right, I'm ready to warp my loom. So I'm gonna take my twine, my warp string, whatever I'm gonna use for the warp, that's the vertical, and I am going to stick it in one of the ones on the end. Now, if you have this part and it's bothering you, this is where you have the tape. Again, this is not a necessary step, but it is helpful if those little extra ends bother you. Then I'm going to bring it all the way down. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can just keep wrapping it around. So I could come up this way and go this way and have it kind of cross over like that. Or you can just go right next door to the notch right next door and then go all the way down. And then take a walk and visit the neighbor next door. And then go all the way down. Take a walk, visit the neighbor next door. Gonna have a party. Go all the way down. Take a walk, go right next door. Go all the way down. Careful not to bend your cardboard like I'm doing. And go all the way down. When you are all done with that, I'm going to cut off this part. And again, you could just leave it, or I'm going to tape it to the back of my loom. All right, our loom is all set up. I have vertical warp strings. I actually have 6 of them, and I have my loom. So now I'm ready to start weaving. So I'm going to start by taking my yarn, and if you notice my yarn is much longer or wider than my loom, and that's okay, it's actually going to help me. I can cut it down later. So I'm going to start, and if you remember from weaving, it is an over under pattern. So I'm going to go, let's start under, over this one, under, over, under, over. I'm going to pull it down until I have it about where I want it, and then push it down with my fingers. You could use a fork to push that down if you wanted to, that's up to you. Now I'm going to use the black so you can see the opposite. So instead, I started under this one. Do you see how it started under? So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to start over. So I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over, under. All right, you don't want any gaps in between, so you're gonna push it down. So let's do that again. So it went under, over, so my next one needs to go under, over, under, over. I still needed to continue my pattern even though I'm doing something else. So instead of doing over, I'm going to do under, over, under, over, under, over, push it all the way down. Maybe this time I will do some grass. So since I was under, I'm going to do over, under, over, under, over, under, push it all the way down. Probably going to go ahead and trim up the edges a little bit. I could make a little wall hanging of this, so I could take some of this string and I could leave it straight on the loom and make a little wall hanging. In fact, I might go ahead and do that. Now I have a really cool little wall hanging for my weaving. Alright, if you would like to be able to take your weaving off of your loom, instead of doing it this way, use one big connected strand, and when you go over, under, over, under, over, under, the next time you would just go over without cutting it off, so it would just be one continual strand. And that's honestly how weavings are held together. When you do your weaving, make sure you use lots of different pieces. Please do not turn in a weaving that has 1 or 3 different things on it and that's it, because that's not really weaving. The weaving has lots and lots and lots of different parts and layers, and that's actually what holds it together. So the more that you have, the better it's going to be held together. Use a lot of different varieties of things. You can use yarns and ribbons if you have them, but if you don't, get creative. You could use paper, you could use cut up cereal boxes, you could use plants. There's all kinds of things. I cannot wait to see your weaving.